Ah, that's official. All right, I'm starting the meeting on Zoom. No, he wasn't going to call in at all. The gentleman who played the driveway on Boston Drive.
Oh,
I believe he had to zoom in, but also we're zooming up because Hank's not.
yes, you're right. Yes, he's
Yes,
not.
he's out of the country.
All right. Last meeting was.
Yes, I asked Julie to make sure I didn't forget.
Everybody needs those.
That's right. That's right.
I'm no different.
I hope everyone signed in the back and also has an agenda if you want one. So help yourselves there. What's our lights, I wonder? They were flickering.
Somebody has to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's, I've taken those off.
Yeah, thank you. They're flickering. No.
They are a very quick number. I see it does that all the time. Well, you got some cheap dimmers.
All right, folks, it is 3:30. I'm going to call the meeting to order and we'll start with our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. What a wonderful crowd today. Glad to see people here. All right, Bob, we have our minutes to approve from the 22nd, which was our the meeting to set the tax rate. So, did you have any review questions?
I have nothing to.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes from November 22nd.
2nd.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sign here. And then the next is the public hearing and regular meeting minutes, and this was from the last November 26th meeting. We had a non-public before and after, so we'll talk about those after, but did you have any questions or changes on this?
Nothing on the public hearing and the regular meeting, so I'll make a motion that we approve the public hearing and regular meeting minutes from November 26th.
I will second that. All in favor? Aye. Another signature. And then we had one non-public before, one non-public after. The first one was RSA 91-A:32C, and we made a motion in that meeting to keep the minutes sealed. So those are all signed. And then the second non-public was RSA 91-A:32A, and we also made a motion to seal those minutes, and they are signed. So we are set on those. Thank you. And that's the new procedure of making a motion in the public meeting right after the non-public to seal the minutes versus waiting until the next meeting. Got that. All right. We have a group of folks here with us from the Historical Society to talk about the building and the progress of the moving the building, etc. So if you don't mind introducing yourselves just for the recording, that would be great.
I'm Leslie Shoemaker, president of the society. And since the selectmen gave the nod for us to explore relocating the building after it got flooded out, we've been working just really tirelessly and planning and developing plans and talking to contractors and regulators and 3 power companies or whatever. And we want to bring you up to speed. And then shortly after the holidays, we want to have a public meeting where we'll have, you know, slides and explaining the whole process and whatever. But Stephen Weeder is our main, is on the board, and he's just put in so much time talking to contractors or whatever. But we've also hired Christina Campa and Nick Aceto. They both have, they're landscape architects with two separate companies, but they're collaborating on this project. They both live in Jackson and have kids in the school. And they've really expanded our thoughts of what we can do and what we can make out of the land there. So I'm gonna let them really do the show.
Do we have a little bit of space we can borrow on the table to spread out some?
Sure. This is our owl, which is recording the meeting. And I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it will focus on the folks in the room, but it won't be able to get your pictures there, but I think this will enough. And if you need a little more space, just let.
So just starting from a very high level. So Christine and I, like Leslie said, are collaborating with local landscape architects. We have work elsewhere. But since we both have kids in Jackson Grammar School and we feel very strongly about the town, we collaborated on this project together. So Stephen initially reached out to both of us around the same time to help the Historical Society look at options for relocating their building out of the floodway. Currently, if you're not aware, the building is literally halfway within the river bank, essentially, and partly also within the state right of way, Black Mountain Road right of way. So it needs to move. There are 3 parcels. The green are the 3 parcels. We're not showing the parcel boundaries in between. Those are town-owned parcels, as you probably know, and the building is the old town hall, so it's a town-owned building. The options that we looked at initially were bringing the building upslope. This way it would be going uphill, up the mountain, or pushing it down. You can see the site's very constricted in the middle. So actually, let me stay at this level for just a second. So we looked at a number of constraints, which we'll get into in just a second, that are very specific, that pushed us in a specific direction for the building envelope where it can go. But to preface that a little bit, being landscape architects and also town planners, that's part of the work that we do, land use planning. We zoomed out to this level, looking at the village and thinking about the possibilities and kind of the pedestrian connectivity through the town, what purpose this parcel or these 3 parcels really serve as a utility and an amenity for the town. And we came up with this idea that there could be a possibility of kind of, as a place to start at least, creating the Jackson Historical Riverwalk, right? And this site being kind of at the nexus for that. So thinking about the flow of the river from the mountain down to the Ellis and into the Saco, and then along with that kind of the flow of time, and think about maybe incorporating interpretive signage along the way. So really in practicality, what we're proposing is there's multiple phases here, but this is the bigger vision, is connecting a pedestrian pathway along the river where it currently exists today, a covered bridge with the terminus being Jackson Falls. And in between, like I said, the Historical Society site would be kind of the nexus of that and draw people into and through the site. So there's kind of, like I said, there's 2 phases to the project. Phase 1 is just getting the building relocated, identifying a site for it that's out of the floodway, out of the right of way. And then phase 2, and there's probably 8 phases within phase 1 and 2, but just to make it simple, phase 2 is thinking about making this Riverwalk connection, but also looking at some possible realignments to the road to make that connection, that intersection, much safer. Today it's dangerous, especially with the school being there.
Right.
So so a lot of this, I think I kind of already stated, just roughly phase 1, phase 2, get the building out of the floodway, out of the hazard zone. And then phase 2 is all the pedestrian connections and adjusting realigning the roadway. So we have actually, I may be going out of order a little bit, but
Well, that's okay.
we have, we've met with the DOT, Department of Transportation, we've met with DES regarding the river. So we've gotten good feedback from both of those agencies. We did also speak to Burr, to talk engineering, specifically with the roadway and some of the other site constraints, elevations, et cetera. And we have good feedback from him as well. And generally, I'd say a head nod from all three to go forward. So let's just jump into, gonna zoom in here a little bit. Look at the site constraints, be pretty brief. Do you want me to go ahead? I can continue. So there's a number of site constraints on the property, like I said. So there's the parcel setbacks that are zoning setbacks, right? So 50 feet from the center line of the road, that's the roadside setbacks that you see. And then we have a 50-foot buffer that's required from the top bank of the river. That's required. Jackson has an additional 25-foot, so 75-foot buffer that's required. Our understanding is that that can be, we don't need to, the town doesn't need to abide by its own setback possibly there. But we don't necessarily.
Day, another conversation.
Yeah, we don't
Yes, exactly.
necessarily need it, essentially is what we've kind of mapped out. There's also an overhead power line that we need to stay clear, 14 feet. So this orange, just to cut to the chase a little bit, the orange is essentially our viable building envelope with all the setbacks in place. It seemed logical to move it uphill initially for various reasons. But essentially when you apply all these same constraints to that parcel, there is no building envelope. Between the road setback and the river buffer, there's no envelope there. So we're looking at this envelope, and you can see the envelope is bigger than the building. So our study in greater detail has been to look at how that building actually fits within that envelope. And we came up with three initial schemes. These are rough concepts. Kind of one pulling the building further back in the envelope and permitting a little more green space up front. Another pulling the building closer to Main Street. In each, we decided that it was important to keep the alignment kind of historically similar to what it is today and aligned generally toward Main Street to create kind of that pedestrian engagement, historic condition. And then our vision that we've kind of arrived at most recently, and I'm sure I'm glancing over a lot of details, but our big idea here is to think about, initially we were thinking about the building in the site as kind of the town common, classic village common. That thinking has evolved a little bit into thinking about, rather than the building sitting within a park as kind of this monument, it actually would be encompassed like in a river park condition. So planting trees and kind of reclaiming that site as more of a river park condition, more native plantings, lots of trees, and probably a greater amenity for the community with walking paths and places to sit. With that, getting a little bit more granular, speaking with the DOT and just thinking about traffic movement and also Burr as well, getting his input. The DOT will no longer accept, it's just one of their standards, they won't accept head-in parking off of Black Mountain Road. So we need to reconfigure the parking. We would really like, as landscape architects, we think it would be great to reclaim all three parcels, the whole site as park space. The way we've thought about achieving that is basically formalizing on-street parking along the shoulder. So essentially what happens already today, people park along that wide 5-foot plus shoulder. We'd be formalizing that and also incorporating some improvements along that road edge to DOT standards that create almost a Main Street extension. So then we're thinking of this as kind of upper Main Street and lower Main Street. And the transportation or the connectivity concept is really connecting lower and upper Main Street with sidewalks and realigning that intersection, like I said, to slow traffic down so you can't bomb right down from Black Mountain Road into Main Street, but slowing traffic as you come into that intersection and making good legible sidewalk connections from the post office down through the businesses along Main Street. So again, kind of larger effort within the roadway, and then more immediate phase one effort within the site. So,
Can you say more before we move off that, as far as the conversations you've had with DOT around head-end parking and the restructuring and reconstruction of that road?
yeah. So it's basically just a statewide standard that they don't want you to maneuver back in or out of a private site onto within the right of way. It's just unsafe. So you either have to do a curb cut, like a separate driveway, and have a separate surface parking lot. Which we might be able to fit a separate surface parking lot. It'd be very inefficient. It would just be single loaded, like a 24-foot aisle and 18-foot row of spaces, and it's also remote. It's way up the hill. That's an option. The other option is to do parallel on street, and then we'd have to think about, without getting too granular in detail, we have to think about the edge conditions. So if we have a sidewalk, for example, adjacent to the on-street parking, we probably also need to incorporate a curb. And then when you build a curb, we would also need to probably put in a catch basin for drainage. So there's a couple of site engineering details that need to be incorporated, but that's kind of the feedback we got from DOT.
So when you say we, are you also including the state? Are they gonna be a partner in all this reconstruction? Like the
Because that
town
is a state
green
road.
area there is
Yeah.
a state road.
So they
So that's not really our decision.
they gave us a head nod and they said, good idea. And then they said, basically, go find the money and talk to some other.
Well, I mean, I think they referred us to the North Country Council. And, as Nick mentioned, we were talking about the phase 1 and this phase 2. And so really the idea is the timeline, the building being moved to the spring. And so we need to think about an interim phase that can occur on the site where we're not attempting to implement this because we don't have funds.
Right.
So there's an interim phase that we have discussed with them about maintaining, keeping the head-end parking, keeping these existing parking conditions the way they are, get the building moved, get the pedestrian universal access to the building. And while that is taking place, the second track is starting to implement some of these other road changes. And that would be through state, federal funding.
We need to investigate further what's available, what the state will contribute, and what kind of resources they have. They've told us time and again that they're just short-staffed. But they also directed us to North Country Council and some other folks who can help us. We've also identified a dozen or so grants. So it's certainly they acknowledge it's a safety concern and something that they should really be fixing.
Yeah.
But-
So let me sidetrack for just a second, if you don't mind. Emily. You and David Campbell are on the North Country Council for Transportation. And
all the paperwork.
I know, and you have actually presented, because I don't know if you've looked back in history or not, but back in the charrette, was it? It was proposed to straighten this road out and bring it across here, I believe, and get rid of the big triangle, which is not very safe. And it was presented again to do some work on Black Mountain Road. If I'm getting this wrong, just raise hand, but it was presented and they said you're down the line quite a bit, or what?
So you're wrong.
That's why I called on you. Thank you.
No, David Campbell on the planning board, and myself serve as representatives for the town of Jackson to the North Country Council's Transportation Advisory Committee. And they go through this 10-year planning process for towns to submit projects and stuff. We've actually submitted for another project. So there are a lot. Have you reached out to Nick Altanaga?
I have reached out to them, and their next step was also to see our realty.
Okay,
So we're kind of in the process of engaging them.
okay. So it would be, I can give you this list of grant opportunities.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's on their website, but between, so the outreach we've done with them for submitting projects, sounds like you're, getting into the whole kind of process of doing that. But also, just David and his role in the planning board with the master plan. Have you been in touch with the planning board about?
next.
That's the
within
next
that.
step.
Okay, okay, yeah, and the
Alright.
conservation commission with the.
Yeah.
Stuff, so, yeah, North Country Council, huge resource, for that, but,
Great.
The state was very complimentary that we had plans.
oh,
So,
yes,
said that's
they
the first
love,
Yeah.
yeah, they love.
All right, I just wanted to rope that in because
Yeah.
I know that Emily and David have been,
Right.
our liaisons for the town of Jackson, and the
Right.
more that you guys can rein in the circle, that would be great. Just thank you so much for correcting me and bringing in that information.
Yeah, no,
But,
that's fine, yeah, and it would be really good to keep us in the loop, because we go to
Yes.
these meetings and someone would be like, oh, well, we talked to these people, it's like,
Right.
really?
Yes, okay,
You do have
Thank
a
you.
plan to address that triangle.
so,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have a plan. I think that, you know, so the District 1, has had quite a bit of turnover. And
Yes.
we- right, and so, but they have been, so far extremely helpful and kind of, open to this idea of this kind of interim phase, look at this minimal amount that we need to do in order to get the building moved. And then allowing some of these existing conditions to kind of stay as they are.
So this is just to like refocus, this is
Yeah.
the phase one, this is kind of what we are looking to do in the next 12 months, essentially.
okay. And so on your your 3 pictures, you had 3 different scenarios. Which one were you presenting? Or did you want to just continue on your presentation?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, it's a good segue. I mean, I think we've leaned toward pulling the building back within the envelope. It's very minor. It's, like a 20-foot difference between forward and back. And we arrived at that in order to grab the most space, capture the most space in the front of the building as a small town common occupiable space for the town. And then also on the river, we kind of identified the space there, but.
Yeah, and this current configuration, honors that 75.
Okay,
that
yeah, I
town
saw
had.
it. So within that orange is the 75.
Well,
Yes.
the 2 blue says 50, this is the 75.
50.
And so we
Okay.
held it out, there is, the grades rise quite a bit here. And so I think there is some thinking to do about, does it make sense to bring the building up, elevationally?
Okay.
And that might be an advantage. So,
But the site that you have here that we're talking about, you've even changed the crosswalk configuration. I appreciate this is an older picture, but you got my attention when you used the word dangerous.
Yeah.
Okay. I've had 4 kids, K through 12, go through Jackson. I think that when the crosswalk got moved here, I haven't heard the word dangerous or unsafe used by anybody here today using it. So can you share more on why you think we have a dangerous
Well,
situation
I think
here?
Susan Ross Parent, who gets the front view, would have a lot to say about that.
There's a couple of things. There's conflicts between modes, right? So there's people walking, that the crosswalk's here now, right, with a
Right.
sidewalk.
Yeah.
So you have 2 crossings very close together.
Yeah.
This second crossing in particular is, in my opinion, extremely dangerous. And it's a condition that I don't think you would see as a standard anywhere else in the state. And most modern intersections, they would tee this intersection in. And the reason for that is vehicles traveling down Black Mountain Road are going in excess of 30 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour. And you have a bus loop driveway that's offset from that driveway. So now a bus has to maneuver through. And now parents and kids, even with their soccer events, whatever's happening after school, they're crossing the road twice, essentially, and on a curve. And this bridge is super elevated. So drivers coming from this direction, you really can't see. So the DOT would call this typically a mid-lot crossing. And they would, in addition to the standard of teeing in the road, they would usually require an RRFB. It's a rectangular reflecting flashing beacon. So the yellow signals and a light that you push and the light goes on. That's pretty standard in most places. So, would I want my 6-year-old, next year, say when she's 7, crossing this intersection by herself. Not really. I don't think so. We live in the village, and I'd love to send her to school by herself, but it's a dangerous intersection, and it really doesn't meet DOT standards.
Let's pull up this one.
That change was made in partnership with DOT and
Yeah.
school and town,
Yeah,
and everybody felt good about it at the time.
yeah. It's funny, when we were out there with one of the district engineers, we had two meetings. The first meeting was with two district engineers. And we showed them a plan similar to this, and we pointed to this intersection. We said, yeah, we'd like to reconfigure the intersection. It's really unusual, this Y. And one of the engineers said, yeah, looking at the crosswalk, said, we don't allow that, or that anymore. And we're like, we're just trying to get our kids to school.
Not, you know,
So it's that caught us off guard. But
So
then,
this changes here to make it one road coming out here, so the crosswalk would go just across here and here or here? Or is this not a crosswalk anymore?
I think this is old, so the
So-
idea would be to continue
Yeah.
either crosswalk here or here,
Okay.
and then, depending on the
you'd
state's recommendation, they might require a signal or a push button.
So you'd have one stop sign here instead of a stop sign
You'd
running
have
the
to stop and
other
you'd go
way.
left or right.
Okay.
Or you'd come in right or left.
Okay.
And is this the one you're referring to that would have a push button signal?
It might, they may not require
And
it,
that one possibly too?
possibly, and again, they just may not require it. But the idea again is that if you stand here today and watch people walking from the village, they're walking in the road in a lot of cases, or they walk up along this sidewalk in front of the school. And if you talk to the teachers, a lot of them, it's kind of funny. They'll say people will come into the windows and like look in the windows. So it's
Interesting.
yeah.
and so part of this is also is looking at traffic calming. You know, when we think about Black Mountain and the speed that people come down Black
Mhm.
Mountain Road, you know, you control speed by road design. And so whether that be, you know, it's a lot of it's lane widths, right? And what you put along the road. So even here, when we think about this crosswalk here, is creating kind of a bump out serves as that, as kind of traffic calming in here. And this crosswalk is really about this idea of kind of connecting to the businesses. It's like what Nick was describing is that, you know, people walking along the road and then they kind of meander back and forth in this zone, going across the green, looking quite kind of lost. Yeah.
So I mean, I think that's mostly what we have. We didn't want to lose sight of the fact that there's a phase one plan. This is the full vision, including the reconfiguration of the intersection, the road. We really just want to implement in the near term this the building move and the getting ADA access to the building. And then these are just a couple of sketches of that intersection to show kind of existing condition and proposed conditions, just so we can kind of visualize the building kind of forward on the site with stairs and walkways and that intersection being consolidated, and then reclaiming some of that right away as green space with the memorials in the center. And you can see this clear sidewalk connection up in front of the school here from Lower Main Street to Upper Main Street.
One more.
And that's just coming a little bit closer to the building and showing that crossing and intersection again from a different angle.
Yeah, and as we studied this, it really became apparent, you know, when, you know, by moving the old town hall in, how it brings a lot of definition to the historic district and to the town itself. So we have incredible continuity from Main Street to this site location, and also coming from the other direction, you know, past the Wentworth, past the church, over the bridge to this location. And really the town right now has got two different nodes, right? It's got this node over here, and it's got one on the other side that is in a lot of ways quite disconnected. So there's disconnected pieces on the other side. And you see an incredible opportunity to really create some of these connections in this really complex site. And we've got a lot of things overlaid in this corner here that are
Yeah, well, you know,
Resolve.
again, like, we just want to move the building
Mhm.
downhill and resituate it in the site. It's hard to just do that without thinking about how you get to it, right, and where you park, and,
So you proposing parking on the side of the road?
yes,
Where's that?
right there. So on the plan.
And that's parallel
It's
parking?
it's basically. Today, there are 10.5 foot lanes. And then you have a 5 foot plus width shoulder, that's straight.
Right now?
Yes, and then it goes to gravel, right? And usually people are parking even beyond the paved shoulder into the gravel, right? So what we're basically saying is,
You're talking about up here?
yeah, yeah, even all the way down here, like where, Burley parks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just,
The little cut
there's,
off.
there's.
Okay.
the only thing I'm thinking, I mean, we have a major parking issue in the village
Mhm.
Yeah.
with width. So I'm just kind of wondering
Oh,
what this as in comparison to what we have to deal with now.
It would go with, for cross section, we're thinking 10.5 foot lanes, that's what they are. And then today you have a 5 foot shoulder, and then you go to gravel, you're still within the right of way, so we go 10.5 foot. And then probably like 4 foot shoulder, and then 8 foot parking, and then the sidewalk would actually be on outside the right of way.
so what you're talking about is in Main Street right here, you have like 10.5, and then you have 2.5 feet, like you have 2 feet. You don't even have a shoulder there. You don't have the width.
So
Sure.
you're concerned about repeating that.
Yeah, no,
It's
this is,
not-
You want more distance
Yeah,
between
this-
the
Yeah.
parking and the lane, right? For-
Well, yeah, just trying to, I was just curious how, what the, I didn't know what the width
We
is.
got the same feedback from the DOT maintenance. He said he wants 5-ish.
It was driven by snowplow.
I was
you know,
gonna say
wing
things like
plow,
that.
truck. He was saying that's where their measurements are derived from.
so
No
16,
issue with site distance
Okay.
with the tree, if you're gonna plant all them trees.
Yeah, all
oh,
right,
yeah.
I'm gonna,
And then
let's
putting-
rein it back, because I wanna, I'm shocked actually, because I'm pleasantly shocked, because it's really incredible the amount of work you've done. And I'm also have blinders on because I thought we were just gonna be talking about sort of where we're gonna move the building and, you know, not taking over all of the screen space. So while I said it's beautiful and it's a really great vision, the financial side of it, which, you know, to date has been on the burden of the Historical Society to raise money to move the building. Phase 2 is so aggressive. I'm wondering what, you know, if, like you said, you can't just move the building and then sit on it and say that's it. And with this huge undertaking of redoing the downtown area, I'm wondering how that goes into a 3 to 5 to 10 year plan. So I don't expect an answer to that or anything. I just kind of wanted to throw that out. there
That's
as my
definitely the
opinion.
future.
That's-
The plan
Yeah.
is this
Yeah,
summer.
yeah, we understand that it's gonna need multiple funding
Mhm.
options, and it would need to be phased.
Right. And then the other thing is just the areas of where it's possible to put the Historical Society building. And of course, thinking the same thing is there are only a few spots in town to put any buildings, whether it be a fire station or a town office or a police station or a historical society. We are limited in the amount of property that the town owns. So taking up that parcel, you know, just, it's a great purpose for sure, but it just takes up a large parcel of Jackson's town. So I just want to keep that in top of mind and, you know, taking up that space. Bob, what are your thoughts and comments?
It's a big project.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about this in the
Yeah.
past, and I'm sure there are people in the room that remember, you know, Dick Bennett was instrumental in advocating for the building to go down right in that very spot. And, you know, there were conversations around power lines and how's it gonna work? There's a lot to digest here, and I understand there are phases, but A, where's the funding gonna come from? And B, how realistic are your road redesign, ideas? I think the one thing I'm hearing that I still don't have evidence of is dangerous. And if it is dangerous, you're moving a crosswalk much closer to where you're citing people that go bounding down at over 30 miles an hour. So that would increase the danger in my mind when I'm looking at this,
Yeah.
just critically thinking through that. That's,
I see some issues there for sure.
so.
There's a, I think, I would love to continue dialoguing the roadway. I think there's some answers. I think
That's
I can
down the
provide.
road.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as funding goes, what we hope to do in 2025, no changes to any roads at all. You know, parking will be where it, you know, we'll still have that old parking where it is. Just move the building. And because we're also in the National Register,
Yeah.
we had to get approval from the Department of Historic Resources. We've hired a historic preservationist who did a 61-page document. And, you know, at the time we were thinking of moving it up, and they really recommended moving it down to incorporate it into the village as part of the historic district. And we've been fundraising since we first got permission. And yesterday it was just announced we got a $225,000 L-SHIP grant.
Awesome.
We've gotten some
Fantastic.
other grants, and we've been very successful in fundraising. And our expenses have also gone up. So really not touching the road, just the landscaping and moving the building. Plus, once it's moved, it needs major restorations. We have no indoor bathroom yet.
Right,
We want to
right.
have that. The windows have never been restored. So there's just a lot of, it needs painting. So we're really talking probably slightly in excess of $1 million to do just that, not touching roads, not touching anything. And we have raised now $800,000. So we're really there. And we had some grants, we had some very generous donors, every one of which asked, what's the town putting in? So what we would like to do, we'd like to ask the town for $100,000, which will be less than 10%. And if we could get that in a budget, it'd be great. If not, I'd like to do a warrant article. I don't know what your feelings are on that, but
Set.
and we've already spent, we took over a building that we didn't own, that was in terrible disrepair. We spent $250,000 on it already. We spent $40,000 in maintenance, not counting utilities. We put, when the town was gonna demolish the Tricky Barn, we raised $50,000 and saved that. So we've been a good tenant. And and I don't think the town has put any money into that building for decades. So that's our ask.
It's a tough year.
Yeah.
It's a tough time for the ask, because we have so much. First of all, our revaluation of the property values certainly is something that's on everyone's mind, I'm sure. And then the fact that we're presenting a fire station to be built too is, and that's going to be in heavy discussion over the next few months for sure. So I don't know if there is room in the budget this year for that, or if a warrant article might be the best way to go about that.
Okay.
Thoughts?
Yeah, those are all good points. I think we last March, kind of all previous warrant article requests were dwarfed by the two big ones that we put out last March. We put out a warrant article for the sand and salt shed, and we put out a warrant article for the design and engineering study for the fire station. And together, they were over $400,000. And so we try and manage warrant articles like we manage our operational budget. This town, I mean, you've probably lived here long enough to know there are people that can absorb any kind of a tax hit we want to throw at them. And there are people that are very acutely aware of things like that as it impacts their ability to pay their taxes. And so we try and balance by both considerations. And if we put a bond warrant out for the fire station this year, it would be a lot to ask for another $100,000 on top of that this year. And I think that's where Barbara was coming from when she said the timing of it.
Mhm.
You know, we're looking to upgrade our essential services for a fire station that was built in 1940.
But we're a very
So-
small volunteer-run organization, planning to
Right.
spend $1 million on a building that we don't own.
Mm,
You know, that's a town building,
mhm.
so it's,
No,
Yeah.
and I understand the
Yeah.
balance and the sides of it, and I mean, it's an exciting project for sure, and if you've got 800, what can you do for 800? Is there a way to move that down there and maybe add a couple of phases before your 3 to 5 year plan has road reconstruction or?
well, we're not really talking about the road. That's, you know, another discussion for the future. And planning board, and I mean, really all we want to do is
Sure.
have it looking really great, you know, make it town center. And
Yeah.
all of the historic people we've talked with are really, really like that idea.
Mhm.
So, but, you know, we're gonna have to paint it, we're gonna have to, I mean, we really do need a bathroom, there's just
Yeah.
a lot of other
Right.
things to do.
Just the budget, the $1 million budget is mainly moving the building, new foundation, new septic system, bathroom, basic site improvements. It's not road reconstruction. Even like all the planting, the trees that you see on there are probably not in the budget at this point.
No.
Yeah,
No,
It's pretty meager.
yeah, I would say all the landscape scope was not.
And any town money we did get, we would earmark for, you know, sidewalks and parking and paths and for the land. I mean, we have the money to physically move the building. But, you know, they'd like to extend the river walk that goes, you know, from the fire pond up along the river there and, yeah, have brick, some kind of, I don't know what the material will be, but nice pathways. So that's what, you know, any money that we get from the town would go really for the land.
so the earmark for the 100,000 is more about the river walk and.
And paths
No.
and curbs and parking.
Like river,
Yeah.
the river walk even further, it's mostly
Basic
walkway, basically getting to the building.
Right.
And
Like
That's.
it's
Yeah,
this
this is-
and this.
yeah.
We have an estimate here from Eastern Green, just for the sidewalks and whatever. 78,000 to 151,000,
Mhm.
you know, that's just,
That's just the landscape
Lands-
on this phase one.
Yeah,
you know, curbing,
Mhm.
culverts or whatever we have to do.
What? Oh,
all right, well, I
it's a lot to digest,
trust
I guess.
with the project and
Yeah.
what you've done to this
And
point.
my other, you know, we've been meeting a lot,
Mhm.
and we will have a public meeting after the holidays to try to get the whole community involved and explain what we're doing and, you know, have PowerPoint and everything. But if anyone from the board or Kevin or Bert, you want somebody to be meeting with us continually, that's fine. And then you don't have to decide now, but let us know
Yeah.
if you want to involve somebody.
And again, I guess I just want to say, I'm so impressed with this. It is so much more than I thought you were going to bring to the table. And I do love the town camp. We talk about our town campus a lot, with all of the buildings that we have and what we can do, you know, if there is a new fire station, what do we do with the old Gray's Inn garage, and what do we do with the old fire station, and what do we do with the town properties that we do own, and how do we beautify it and make the best use out of it? And there is so much potential, that always comes with a big dollar sign, but this is really beautiful work, and I can only imagine the time you guys have put into this,
It's a lot.
and
And
the
there-
blood, sweat, and tears, right?
And there is land up above, which
Right.
if the town didn't need it, we would make that into green space, but that
Right.
is town-owned land.
Yeah. Anything else? Questions or?
No, not really. I think if we're really confined to the move of the building, without doing anything to the road initially,
No, that's way in the future.
I'm wondering if, you know, there's a way to take another look or how deep you've looked at that crosswalk that's essentially going right across to the post office there. That area that concerned me in using the logic expressed here was closer to the traffic barreling down the hill at over 30 miles an hour. And so is this the final, or is there a draft? And if you're looking for town money, I think the logic would be, how is that all gonna look?
I think
Just
just,
tied in enough.
yeah, I think just to be clear again too, that probably is not part of phase one. It's everything outside the right of way, just within the site.
So just
Just
moving the
getting
building and
access
having
from-
access to it.
So people would still get there from the school by going like that and that.
Yep, we would do,
No change to anything on the road.
On the
for
road.
phase one. It's just getting to the building from
Okay.
whatever existing conditions are there.
Yeah,
Since it's not like where the building is right now, you drive right
Yeah.
up the front steps and you walk in.
sure.
This will be set onto the green enough that there'll need to be walkways to get there.
Right.
Mhm.
To do those walkways properly,
Yeah,
maybe brick.
Well, and so this is why, these conversations with DOT are so important, right? And to get in front of them, to get their feedback and to get to kind of design, the highway design department ultimately to
Mhm.
say, what can we do here?
yeah. I mean, for all I know, the crosswalk was just gonna be painted. I wasn't sure how
Yeah.
involved that
We're not
was
even
gonna look.
talking about changing any crosswalks in phase one.
Mhm.
Get the building
Gotcha.
moved. But you need to get to the building from where Pearlie parks
Right.
now, or from the existing historical society
There-
parking
there-
lot.
I mean, you have to provide ADA access to
Right.
the building, so that.
Well, it's part of the
We don't
purpose
have
of
that.
moving it. Yeah,
Right,
part of the, one of the
So there'll
reasons.
be a walk to that building.
Hmm.
Which is right now, right on the road, so.
So what we have now in funds, maybe we could,
It's a moving target. you
Yeah.
know.
So-
Certainly not likely with what we've raised so far.
Mhm. I
Give it a
think-
chance.
Is there a timeline or when the building would actually physically move that you have in mind? You said
We're
spring.
developing that now.
Okay,
April 15th, according to the state, is the earliest date we
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
Start with
Because of weather.
power marketing,
yeah,
challenge. It's the person that has to ask what building.
I think what I can see as a good plan moving forward from here is your public meeting is going to be extremely important, as all public meetings are. And then looking at where we are on the budget. And then Frank is not here today too. He's not feeling well, but I think it's definitely worthy for him to see these plans, whether he comes into the office and meets with you guys or goes to the Historical Society or whatever. I think something this large of an endeavor is really good to have all three select board members in attendance. So if we can put this on our to be discussed again list, I would love to know when your public hearing is so we can promote that as well and be in attendance. And then as we move forward on the budgets, just looking at where it falls in there and whether or not that ends up to be a warrant article or something that the town can contribute to.
And as far as timing, we hope to begin in April, because the first thing is
Right,
moving power lines.
right.
But my goal is to get it all done this summer,
Yeah,
because I'm old and I want to retire. It's time for someone besides a shoemaker to run the joint.
amen to that.
I got it. I hear you.
So that's my goal, is to get this.
And the
done.
budgets, the budgets are coming up, they're right around the corner. So that's gonna be moving fast too. Of course, it doesn't get approved until town meeting, but
What's the timeline on warrant articles?
Julie is and Betsy, no, Julie's gonna be the one on that. We
I
have,
can come up-
we have the town
don't-
calendar, but
Yeah.
I don't have it handy,
I'll
but it,
talk to you.
yeah, talk to Julie or Betsy and they can give you the
Great.
deadlines on that for
Okay.
sure. And then we'll look at that as the dates go by and see where we are. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah.
Great, well, thank you very much.
Thank you for all that you've done. This really is beautiful and I can very, very well visualize it too. And it's so nice to meet both of you.
Nice to meet you too.
Thank
No,
you so
we know
much.
a lot.
Building like a building.
Yeah,
All
yeah, it's really nice.
field.
we wanted to try and get some master.
Yeah, so people talk about the post office being kind of apart and everyone.
Yes, it is. I also think it's really important. I know that you are gonna meet with the planning board and they're working on their capital improvement plan, which is of course a moving target, but to have this included in that, at least at the talking stages, is huge. David Campbell and Bill Terry, they're meeting Thursday night. I'm not sure if you.
I actually just emailed.
Okay,
So,
perfect.
yeah.
So they only meet once a month, but just getting in their ear and getting this information to them is huge.
Yep.
Great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you both so all of you.
Stephen, at the end of the year, once we can get a safe tax rate set.
Yeah,
Mm.
I know what you're.
Unencumbered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fund balance. Which
We dipped into pretty heavy.
people want used for projects, big pieces of equipment and things like that. I mean,
Yeah,
it could also be a possibility. Regardless of whether the timing allows for the warrant.
Right.
And by then you'll have a much sharper pencil
Yeah.
that has been up to the need, just throwing out ideas.
Right.
But I hope to be at the hearing when you have it.
Yeah.
I don't know when you're gonna have it or what time.
Well, after, probably January after.
Yeah.
Okay,
holidays.
good. Great. Thank you
Thank
all
you.
so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciated.
Good luck.
Yes. And congratulations on all you've gotten raised so far. That's very impressive.
Well, we've got some generous people and
Yeah,
grants and whatever.
fantastic.
But L-chip grant is big.
Yes, that L-chip grant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So,
it was a game changer.
That is,
Having this for years,
yeah.
but I'm 80, I don't. have
That's
kids,
huge.
but I gotta get it done.
you look amazing. All right, thank you again so much. There's been lots of shuffling around. Is everything okay? Is everyone safe and healthy? Is every person, I don't want to talk about buildings or bridges right now.
Most bridge yards. Bridge is marked unsafe.
Okay. Yeah, I hear you.
Can we move the bridge?
Okay, so I'm gonna go move on to the agenda here, so
Town hall. Up to the-
on the bridge, right? All right, so this is really an exciting topic here. That was very, very beautiful drawings there. Okay, we have some board appointments for the Conservation Commission and ZBA, so I'm really excited about this because we need more volunteers. The first is for Jeffrey Hayes. To be a regular Conservation Commission member. So he has expressed interest, and this is to take over for the vacancy for Tom Seidel
Yeah.
stopping. So I will make a motion to appoint Jeffrey Hayes to the Conservation Commission as a regular member.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Jeffrey, are you here? Okay, I don't know, so I just wasn't sure. I don't think I know. Thank you. And then the next is for Peter McGlynn of Jackson to join the Zoning Board of Adjustment as a regular representative. And this is to fill Dave Metesky's term. So I will make a motion to appoint Peter McGlynn to the Zoning Board of Adjustment as a regular representative.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi. Peter, are you here? No? Okay. He has his picture, but I my glasses. Did you read this? Very impressive.
I did not.
And that's it, right, Julie? Just the two? Thank you. All right. Balsam Drive, McNeil Driveway, Burr. Hello. I'm good. How are you?
Good.
So you have some concerns, and Adam, are you on the phone on Zoom?
I'm right here.
Oh, hi.
Look, I'm on.
Would you like, yeah, I don't wear my glasses during the meeting, so I wasn't sure. I know somebody was going to call in on Zoom for this, so was that you, but you're here?
Initially thought I couldn't be here.
Okay,
Um,
glad you're here. All right, Burr, you want to start with this and give us a little background first to bring us up to speed and then your concerns?
Sure, so this lot's off of, Boston's Drive, and it's one of the real challenging lots, we did the site disturbance ordinance, how many years ago, 10 years ago now. Like this lot was the reason,
Case study.
Like. The poster child, what's up for, so it's a really challenging lot. And so, and it's surveyed as a septic system design.
Excuse me.
It should,
Sorry.
way it showed a house, and then the septic system beyond the house, so you have to kind of get by the house, get the septic system for the construction. And actually, their approved design showed a driveway going in front of the house. They've been working on the lot all summer, and now they're working on the house. And the lot construction, had to do a fair amount of blasting,
Right.
but the contractor has effectively dumped ledge, blasted rocks and fill. So you have a steep slope that's beyond any sort of engineering or construction standards in front of the lot that's unstable. As far as the rocks that Kevin can speak to, the rocks that come down off the slope into the ditch. I think some have actually come down into the road or whatever on the thing. So that's one concern. Kevin was concerned last summer, so he called me to take a look at it. We went out. We talked with the contractor who was still in the middle of construction. And we told them at the time that they were either gonna need to cut those slopes back to 2 to 1 or have some sort of geotechnical engineer come in and, say that these slopes are safe, however they want to engineer and make the slopes stay, safe, and then we're fine with it. So anyway, the slopes are still pretty much the same way they were this summer now. I don't think really much has happened to the slopes since we talked about them last summer. But they've now built a septic system, and they've asked for an approval of an amended plan so they can backfill the septic system for the winter, and move an excavator out of the site. However, with the amended plan, they've showed the driveway in a location where it looks like there's no way they're gonna meet the town's road, town's driveway. It's just gonna be too steep of a lot to get up, too steep of a slope to get up in the driveway, so it would have to get pushed back to the front of the site and not go into the basement, which is the way they sort of looks like they've planned it right now. And the stabilization hasn't been done, but when I review, just one step back, when I review the septic system designs, it says for compliance with the town zoning. And one of the items of the zoning is to say it'll meet the town's driveway standards. So I can't say that right now. And another one is to say the site disturbance requirements that it's thing, and I can't say that right now. And so they're asking for an approval on this, and I have been reluctant to give them approval until they come up with a plan that says, how they're gonna resolve the how they're gonna resolve it. So that's kind of where it was at. I think Adam's now working he's trying to hire an engineer to come up with a plan on this, as far as I know.
So there's two issues. The driveway is one issue and the road safety is the second issue because of the ledge that,
Septic system. In order to get the septic system approval, that is a zoning approval essentially is what it is.
okay, so are we stopped right now until you get
Yeah,
further
so-
services, Adam?
So Vern and I talked before,
Mhm.
essentially because it is a difficult lot.
Mhm.
To hit last. The only way to get a big excavator around the front of the house into the septic system, area is to create a big shelf. And so by creating a big shelf, there is a really steep pitch right now on that front slope. And so what I'm looking to do is have my site person finish the field. The state's waiting to approve it as well. Finish the field, and then he can start working on slopes. So calculate the distance from the front of the house to the front easement. I know I can get to a 2 to 1 slope. As far as the driveway is concerned, we're trying to hire an engineer now to get that squared away, because ultimately the town has ultimate leverage over issuing an occupancy permit. I mean, there's no well on site yet, so I'm so far away from asking for an occupancy permit. That, you know, the fact that the field is still uncovered, it hasn't been covered over yet, I'm just looking for approval on the septic system. You know, if the septic system was designed and installed properly, I'm just looking for the okay on it. And then we can work on the front slope and the driveway.
And is there a way to give a contingent approval that says for the winter? Like, I mean, I'm spitballing here. Is there a way to give a contingent approval that says in order to cover the septic for the winter, I give you this approval to do this, but in the spring, or I'm just throwing it out there because I understand your concern about having your septic covered, but we can't, I understand Burr's position now, absolutely that it doesn't adhere to the zoning rules. So what's your,
Right, so I guess what I'm thinking is, yeah, yes, I can do that. I mean, I think I could write an approval that says they can, this is for the septic system, but there are conditions that says you still need to address these other two items. My concern with that has been that, what I've seen so far on the site looks like they got a long way to go to make these other issues work out.
Mhm.
And then what's often happened, or what's happened in the past in Jackson, when people keep going on with constructions in these items, when they get to the end and then they come back and they can't figure this out, that ends up coming back to the town and saying, well, you shouldn't have let us keep building,
Yeah.
you shouldn't have let us do this thing.
right?
Now that's used against us. And then we kind of, you put the road crew in a situation, you put the emergency service people in situations, they can't get to the house now and those things. So that's why, if you guys decide you just want me to write a approval, make a petition of it, I'm totally fine with that. But it should go through you guys.
For sure.
Go through you guys first.
Bob?
Yeah, and here we are, it's
Yeah.
December 10th, and I think the last thing I want to be supportive of is our town engineer feeling like it's going to impact his integrity as a professional to sign off on something that is, by signing off on it through that extension of signing off, it's saying some things about the driveway slope being okay and the slope in front being acceptable, and yet it's not. And I think he paints the picture of what can happen is, and then it's not done, and then next building season, or whether it's in the summer or whatever, he said, well, but you signed off on it. And now here we are, and we can't figure out where to put the driveway, we can't figure out how to slope it safely and have it within code. And so that's why I think his signature is recognizing, the order and importance of these things being at a place. So that makes me hesitant to feel like we can separate something out that by design is not intended to be separated out from the overall site work on the lot, as I understand it.
Yeah.
Hold on 1 second.
I'm done.
Okay, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, and so my contention is that, whatever driveway I do has to fall within Jackson's zoning ordinance. So, but I pulled a separate driveway application. So why is that associated, why is driveway on the as-built, on the septic plan, that important at this stage?
You
Well, I
can,
think he.
yeah,
go ahead.
yeah,
So that is right there, a perfect example of how that driveway permit kind of gets put back in order. Why is this coming up now? So that's what our concern is gonna happen on the next page too. So just so it's clear is the road agent, Gary, approves just the driveway at the road, the location of the driveway and culvert. That's all that he is concerned with. The fire chief and the building inspector approve the driveway from there to the house. So the road agent is looking at it from keeping the ditches flowing and not having water running out into the road and obstructing the road. So Gary has done that. He put the driveway, that extra driveway looks good. It looks like you've got it pitched away and you've got a culvert in there, so that part I think looks good. Problem becomes the next requirement is getting from there to the house, which even with that amended plan with the S, that didn't look like it was workable, I mean, at all.
Yeah, I have zero issues hiring a
Yeah.
professional. That's not a concern at all.
Mhm.
I go back to just the fact that my added costs that are still incurring now. You know, what, does the town have liability for those costs because they're not approving what's on their desk, what's on your desk, which is the septic approval itself? You know, I don't know the legality of that, I don't know.
Well, if it's not up to our zoning ordinance, then it's not our liability.
Right, I guess what I'm getting at is, if it's the septic system, if the septic system itself was installed correctly, I'm just looking for someone to say, yes, okay, that's okay.
But that zoning part of it is part of the septic approval. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, just the stamp, you read the stamp that goes on all the plans, it says this is for compliance with the zoning ordinance. So that's what, since before I started reviewing in 2005, that's how they're all reviewed, for compliance with the zoning ordinance. So it's not just the septic system. That component of it, you got the septic system in the right location or whatever, as far as the town goes, the septic system, there's not an issue with it. It's these other components that you've gotta kind of sign up on to get that. You know, get that approval.
So, and you're trying to find an engineer to help you with this to get to that point where Burr can comfortably sign off on this, and
Yeah.
that's where
Yeah.
that's kind of where we are today.
Proceed.
Not, you're at the mercy of a contractor to help you get to the
Yeah.
point where Burr is okay.
I think that's an
Yeah.
important clarification.
Yeah.
That you're not at the mercy of town.
Yeah,
You're at the mercy of finding an engineer to get you to the place where it's okay based on the requirements of the town engineer to sign off on it. And that, that's a distinction that I wanna, make clear in my view. I mean, we're here to help in any way we can, but the content level expert is made it clear that you've gotta have these other things fall within guidelines of our codes.
Sure.
And
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, I mean, if you come up with a plan that works, I'll sign off on it in a heartbeat. But we just don't have that plan. And again, this was brought up during the summer, and we still don't have a plan. I kind of becoming a crisis for the town because of winter, and it could have been resolved over the last.
okay.
few
well,
months.
do you
that's-
have access to an engineer to do the work and you're just like in a waiting queue or?
Yeah,
And do you have any idea when your engineer is gonna be able to come in?
I've spoken to one, Mark Moser.
Mhm.
And he's deciding whether or not he can take this on or not, given his own set of work that he has to do. And then he had mentioned if he's unable to do it, that there's a local outfit, I think HEB out of
Mhm.
Conway or something.
Burr knows them
Yeah,
well,
Mark's a
so,
good guy. I've
Yeah.
reviewed a couple of his plans recently, so Mark's a good guy.
and I feel for you, I definitely do, and I really hope that you can get this resolved because you're investing a lot of time and money into a piece of property that you want to build, but I absolutely understand that, we need to stick with our laws and rules, but what I'd like to say is if you two can keep in contact and as you progress with an engineer and maybe Burr can help you contact, or I don't know, if you're willing, if you can or have the capacity to at least help you get this resolved at all by contracting or contacting anyone. And just keeping that line of communication
That's not
open.
an issue. So
Yeah,
it's
and
not
hope
gonna
not.
get professional help.
Yeah. I just think we really do have our hands tied on.
If like,
Sign.
if the driveway, I wasn't aware until this point, where the driveway is on a septic.
Yeah,
Because I figured, well, so long as the driveway,
Yeah.
Follows is in compliance of the zoning ordinance, then
mhm,
what matter does the driveway look like?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So long as it falls within the zoning ordinance.
Yeah.
Why is it so important right now?
So just one white comment. The plan that was approved showed the driveway in a different location than the most recent as-built plan. And in that location, you could build the driveway to the town standards. But now it shows it going into the garage, and it looks like you're obviously, in your building construction, you've made provisions to put a garage underneath the house. it's that location that makes it so the grades are just.
What are the weather dependent needs? Obviously, you don't want to wait until the spring to close your septic up. And so,
Right.
what kind of a timeline are we up against here?
Or are there any?
When we need
alternatives?
to, sign off on that so that it's still within the leeway of being able to backfill that septic before it's the dead of
Frozen.
winter and essentially it's too late.
It's realistically, it's already in the winter.
Right, I know. It's
I
like,
mean, it's snow up there, it's
Yeah.
ice in there, it's everything, it's already,
right,
we're already at that
awesome.
situation, like
Right.
the site disturbance, you're supposed to have the site stabilized by
Mhm.
earlier this year, and it's long gone and the site's not stabilized already, so that's just simply not gonna happen until springtime, we know that's the situation, right? So, I mean, it's a matter of, do we let them backfill it, but I'm a little reluctant to do that for the reasons we've described
Right.
before, or does it effectively not get backfilled until springtime? Or I guess they can always temporarily backfill it and have to re-expose it against the contractor for the state inspector in the spring.
Mhm.
So
And I think,
that's for them to figure out, I think.
I was gonna say, I think that's where it falls on you as the property owner to figure out a solution at this point.
I mean, Burr's very available. He's always been easy to get in touch with, and I mean, even if it's on short notice or something, is it?
Jay?
Or can't they, I know the state doesn't do it as much as they used to, but can't they ask the state for okay to backfill but not an operational approval?
I don't think they do that anymore.
No, but I think that if it was a unique circumstance, I think they will consider it.
Even try, if you can do that, that would be a.
Is that the subsurface systems? Bureau?
Yeah, in the old days, they used to, not that long ago, always used to, you could get an okay to backfill, but you might not get an operational approval
Okay.
from DES, but they did away with that for reasons that people wouldn't
Wouldn't
end up
go back and do it the right
finishing, I
way.
guess, doing things. But due to the, if you can explain a good enough variance or unique situation, maybe they'd allow it.
Is that something where like Bob Fudo would do on my behalf?
That'd be a good question for either the septic inspector or maybe Don Bucher at DES.
All right, so I'm gonna let you guys hook up together and find the right communication to see if that's a possibility, because that would certainly be a wonderful solution for you. And if it's not, I'm just gonna say, keep trying, keep in contact with Burr, with Kevin or Jay, if they can help you at all. And we'll go from there. And again, I'm sorry you're in this situation. We'll keep the communication lines open and hopefully find you a solution.
And I don't know if there's any more select board need to be involved, but
Yeah.
if there is, even this time of the year,
Yeah.
we can call meetings with 24 hours. I'm
Right.
happy to do that. If there's anything that needs to be done, we can help.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Yes.
Norman Benoit, 43 Bolton Drive.
Mhm. Yeah, neighbor.
House right below you. Nice to see you. I've never met them before. I just want to echo the engineer's concern. That's an extremely
Right.
steep slope,
Mhm.
which I'm not sure how that's going to hold up over time.
Right.
I don't think it's going to hold up. There are rocks that are
Okay.
being held up by trees. The trees
Yeah.
that fell down, so the trees are holding up the rocks. Obviously, the trees are going to rot over time. The rocks are going to come down. Some have already come down into that.
All right.
The culvert.
I'm gonna stop you there because we do know the concerns and I appreciate you being at the meeting again too. So I'm sure that they have to address that as well before anything moves forward
I
too.
just
So
want to echo the concern
Yes.
that the engineer.
thank you.
Something needs to be done.
Appreciated. Thank you. All right. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Emily. All right, excuse me. Sorry, you guys want to take it outside? Excuse me, if you folks. Can you guys take it back outside so we can continue the meeting? Thanks. Ah, thanks, Burr. Emily, you are up for the 10-year plan follow-up. Thanks.
So I was just, gonna let you.
Sure.
I feel like we talked about this, but, yeah, so we did get the formal letter from the North Country Council, Transportation Advisory. Rep that, yeah, we were 9 to 15 projects in terms of the Route 16 work. And, so moving forward, I think the biggest thing is to document any time that we talk about our concerns with that roadway, that section mile marker 93 to 96. And I've been in touch with Chief Pearlie. He says the state gets all the data that they need on accidents. All of that is filed, so they have that. Any sort of complaints, feedback from residents, forward it to me. I will kind of keep a file that we can keep these things on record.
Okay.
I've also mentioned it to David with the planning board.
Great.
That they bring that up as well in terms of any discussion with the master plans.
I wonder if it's worth it for the folks that live in that area to like to reach out to them and communicate that any, just what you said and saying, like,
yeah,
we need documentation, we need cases.
Please give us some feedback.
Yeah.
I was going to put together sort of alert to put on e-news to, and anyone has any concerns to please, let me know.
Yeah, that would be great. And also reaching out to the HOA at Dana Place, because they can do a quick communication amongst their members.
That's exactly it.
Yeah,
That's
great.
a good point. I know they've been in touch with DOT as well with
Yes,
that driveway.
the culverts and everything.
Yeah. So that's that. I just I do hope that the folks with the Historical Society, that they connect the dots on a lot of these things. Because,
yes.
Yeah, that whole 10-year plan process, I was just looking at some paperwork that was filed regarding what we just went through. And other communities, what they put through, it's exactly.
Yeah.
But it is
A long and costly.
Oh, yes.
I can't even imagine the cost of that project.
Yeah.
It would look beautiful, I think, but boy.
Yeah. So that's it.
Aggressive.
Were there any questions on that or?
No, I appreciate the update on
Yeah.
it. David filled me in on a few of the, we didn't have enough data at all. Some of the folks that submitted cases were so far
They were
above.
way far. Yeah, and I guess in that we don't really understand. I mean, in terms of sometimes they don't get any projects. I mean, I think the town of Pittsburgh submitted, 10 projects alone.
Right.
Yeah, and so
Crazy.
they had never had so many projects submitted before. So
well, thanks for being on that. Yeah. Thanks for being active on that. Yeah.
Is this there's nothing there, but.
That's what I'm waiting for from Greg.
Oh, okay, that's what you were talking about.
Yeah.
Thank you, sorry
But feel free to write it all up if you want.
Yeah, this is not exactly my creative time of the day.
No,
Not that I have.
or mine, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right, the Jackson Fire Department has received a $100 donation, so I will make a motion to accept that from Carol Burns, trustee of the trust fund.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much for that wonderful donation. Trustee of the trust funds withdrawals. This is for $1,086.66 from the Baker Prospect Farm Trust, invoice number 75030 dated 10/31/24 for Alvin J. Coleman and Son. And that then $830 from the Maloon Groundwater Expendable Trust Fund 0071, invoice 731798 dated 11/30/2024 for HEB Engineering. motion to approve these withdrawals.
So moved.
All in favor? Or I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Missed a step.
What's the last name of the donation?
Carol, Burns,
That's what it
you
says.
are at S.
Thank you.
Yes. Fire station update? Anything tonight?
Nothing
Yep.
new. We've kind of honed our plan down
Great.
and
I think we have some dates coming up in the future that we'll be looking at too.
yeah,
For other, and we'll be fitting in a bond hearing and a public hearing and a few things other
yeah,
than that after the first of the year too.
yeah.
No news on the trusses yet, Burr, right? We're just gonna hurry up and wait on that.
What was the problem with the bridge?
Was there a problem with this bridge here tonight?
It was an issue, but it got quickly resolved.
That's good.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And I noticed that this Valley Cross Bridge is looking like it's close to opening up. Any, Burr, any?
Yeah.
Haven't been up there?
I think last week.
Yeah,
Haven't been by this week, so.
okay. All right, well, like Bob mentioned before too, we don't have a select board meeting the rest of the month, but if we need to have one, we're ready. And we can hold one within 24 hours notice. All right, Jerry, thank you for waiting so patiently. We missed you last time.
Relative to the election we had in November, I was advised, the moderator was advised, that we were not in compliance with, 659-43-3, which specifically speaks to, someone who is electioneering must have conversational access to the voter. And, the way that Attorney General and all this explained to me, we are not required to have our voting at the Whitney Center. But if we are, then the electioneering where we have it is not in compliance. To get into compliance, and actually there was a court order on this, that the sidewalk walkway about 8 feet wide, approaching the Whitney Center is where electioneering can take place. Because then they can have, as the ordinance, as the RSA states, they have to be conversational as they approach. So as moderator, I'm going to designate the area on either side of that walkway as electioneering area. I just wanted to advise that that's what I've done moderator, that's what I'm going to do with it. Future moderators will have to stay in compliance with that. So
So-
provided copies of that RSA for you and a drawing of what that might look like.
So when you approach the Whitney Center,
Yeah, there's
And-
about an 8 foot walkway
yeah, and right on the grassy areas,
Yeah.
just,
on either side of that, which actually the court ordered some time ago. Because specifically because we don't have 100 feet to where the throughway is, it has to, the designated area will be everything but that walkway and the sidewalks.
seems very close. So it seems very close.
Well, that has to be conversation,
Yeah,
whereas they pointed out that. I mean,
Yeah, I don't need to look at it right now,
Okay.
but yeah, so, yeah.
okay,
and it doesn't violate, in other words, it, the ordinance also speaks to, local ordinances. It doesn't violate anything. So
okay.
it really is up to the moderator to stay in compliance with that.
Thank you. I appreciate the homework you did on this because I knew on that day it was definitely a conversation item. We'll play on words there. All right, copy to Bob. I think this might be in there.
So I'm done.
You are done. Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll make sure Julie gets us a copy of this, but it's interesting. All right, any update on the current use application for the Upper Saco Valley Land Trust? Nothing on there? Did you meet?
Waiting for Jason.
Okay,
Yeah, Jason hasn't responded to me yet.
okay.
Great. Holidays.
I bet he's busy.
He's been busy.
We're still waiting on the 12 Middle Mountain Trail advertisement has been corrected, so they are all set. Okay, that's good to know. Appreciate it. All right, Kevin, anything on building permits? Okay, thank you. Is that one? We have a new house on there and nice, another new. Awesome. All right, any public comment? Yes, Peter?
Hi. Just speaking as a citizen, not as a non-employee, fire employee. Whatever happens with the town hall moving, and I'm, it's an interesting project. It would be curious just to see, especially if they're asking for town money, if we would think about sprinkling that building. All public or quasi-public buildings, which I think kind of falls into, in my estimation, should be sprinkled in this day and age. Not that you would hold it over them, but it would be interesting to have the conversation because they have too much invested in it. The community has too much invested in it to not protect it fully. Even if it costs a little more money up front, it will be worth it in the long run. Just my 2 cents.
I appreciate that and appreciate it as a citizen as well as a firefighter. Would you throw that out to Leslie and Stephen or have you? Okay, all right, good. I appreciate that. Also with all the valuable artwork, you would think they would want that too. So thank you. All right, as we talked about, we have no other select board meetings scheduled for this month. January 14th is our first select board meeting after the first of the year. And then we have proposed bond hearing dates at the Whitney Center. The first one being Monday, January 13th from 6 p.m. or later. Tuesday, January 14th, available after 7 p.m. at the Whitney Center. And Thursday, January 16th as a snow date. So, yeah, I think we need to have those.
Actually, Susan from the school, I'm still waiting to hear from her on the 14th. Because
Okay.
the school board may be having a meeting.
Okay.
On the 14th.
So that would say that it wouldn't be available at all.
No,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
And we do want to have 2 days though.
Yeah, the bond council suggests we
Recommends
have
to.
a snow date
Okay.
that we advertise once we post it.
So as soon as you find out from Susan, then throw it our way and we can update e-news and the calendar. Okay.
So what my question is that the only location that will work for us to have a bond hearing?
Well, do you think this room is big enough?
It's been big enough in the past.
Why don't we do the 13th at the Whitney Center and the 14th here?
Right.
And no, what?
Do you mean?
Are we talking about having 2 different dates plus a snow date or just one?
No, one day.
Okay.
One day but you have to have a snow date as a backup. 'Cause
Right.
if it snows, then you have to advertise that snow date. This is what I've been told. So
Okay.
Gotcha.
whether it's either the 13th with the snow date of the 16th.
I see, or the 14th.
Yeah, but
Okay.
if you think this room is big enough for a bond hearing, I just thought you would want to have the photos up all.
Yeah, I think the Whitney would be.
It would
better
be
for that.
better.
And
if
they'd
it's
be-
available, as long as it's available.
Yeah. So.
I mean, 6 p.m. on Monday, that's not too late.
No.
Then if the snow date is required, to be submitted at the same time, we go with the 16th.
Right.
6 p.m.
Yeah, and I also like the audiovisual and speaker equipment that's available at Whitney if we can get a large enough crowd.
Do we need to allow, or is there a meeting ending at 6 o'clock? So there's gonna be like a need for a 30-minute buffer between meetings?
Yeah, that's what I was kind of planning. There's, I think I know the 13th is open, but it's the 14th. See, there's a class in there.
Yeah.
Until
Right.
6:30, but Susan has to confirm with the school board that they don't need it after that class, so that, the
I just-
14th is kind of up in the air.
I guess I meant the 13th.
13th.
No, that's,
Okay.
no, you could start at 6.
At
Like,
Okay.
set up at 5:30, start at 6.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's right.
And
Then-
actually, they'll set everything up for us, whatever we need. So
okay.
That's
Super.
what she said.
Yeah, so let's do the 13th with our snow day, the 16th
Yeah.
for the bond hearing.
Yeah.
And then our budget hearings will be Tuesday, January 28th, after the regular select board meeting at 3:30. So that will be around 4 o'clock or thereafter. And then Tuesday, February 4th following the select board meeting. So January 28th, February 4th will be the two budget hearings. And the February 4th is also the last day to accept petitioned articles. And we were going to do our darndest to get copies of the budget out and available for the people and the town folks that want it prior to the budget hearing. So you can come prepared with questions and we can be prepared to answer them or look into them before the second hearing.
And those
So-
budget hearings will start whenever
Yes.
the regular select board meeting is completed.
Correct. And not at 4 o'clock. It'll be right after.
They
Not
just post it immediately follows.
That's
immediately
right.
following. Correct.
Do you wanna have your regular select board meeting on the 14th, or do you wanna move that to Monday?
Oh,
the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
13th, And then we'll go over to the WIT meeting after, or,
I'm okay keeping it on Tuesday, the 14th. I just like the stability of our select board meetings. And then it'll give you time to be focused for the board, the bond hearing. So, yeah, let's keep it the 14th. Thank you. All right. You weren't gonna go anywhere in January. huh? No. All right, I am gonna make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 4:59.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all for being here and all of your input and expertise.